For this video, we're going to be talking about inverse functions. We're going to be talking about if we're given two functions, are they inverses of each other? Can we prove that, yes or no? What about if we're given some equations here and then we're asked to find the inverse of those functions? We're going to walk through the steps on how to do that. We're also going to talk about the horizontal line test for inverse functions. And then when we are given a graph, let's find the inverse of that graph. So let's talk about how do we know that two functions are inverses of each other? All right, so definition here says that if f and g are two functions such that when you do the composition f of g of x, you get x, and you do g of f of x, and that you also get x. If that is the case, when you do the two compositions and you get x for each one of those, then those two functions are indeed inverses of each other. All right, so our notation here, so this f here just represents our f of x, our inverse function, f to the negative first, that is our inverse function notation there. With this first example, we're going to show that each function is the inverse of the other one. So prove that these two functions are inverses of each other. So what we need to do is we need to do the composition functions for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to find f of g of x, and then we're going to find g of f of x. What we're looking for when we do these two compositions, if we get x as our solution for each one of these, then this proves that these two are indeed inverses of each other. We get anything else other than x that they're not matching up here. Again, we're looking for an x here, an x here. Anything other than that, they are not inverses of each other. So let's go ahead and jump right into the example here. So f of g of x, that means we're going to start with f. We have our 3x plus 2, but we're plugging in g into f. So we're going to take g of x and replace it here with our x. All right, so 3x plus 2. Simplify this. Now, rules of simplifying, so this 3 here in front, I can rewrite that as 3 over 1. Keep in mind that if you have the same thing in the numerator as you have in the denominator, they are going to cancel out to a 1. And 1 times x minus 2 is just x minus 2. So these 3's are going to cancel, drop down the x minus 2, and then the plus 2 back over here. Well, when we combine those like terms, a negative 2 plus a 2 cancels, leaving us with x. That's exactly what we were looking for there. So let's do g of f of x and let's see what we get. If we do g of f of x, we're going to start with g. All right, we're going to have our x minus 2 over 3. Keep in mind that we are plugging f of x into g. So we're going to take this 3x plus 2, and we're going to plug it in right over there for our x here. So again, our x minus 2 over the 3. Simplify this. With this one, we're going to start in the numerator because here we have I just realized that I wrote this down right. This is 3x plus 2, not a 3x minus 2 like I wrote. So correction on that. Otherwise, we're going to start simplifying our numerator here. We have a positive 2 minus a 2, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So that's going to leave us with the 3x in our numerator and the 3 in our denominator. So here, 3 is going to cancel out with the 3, leaving us with x. So because we got an x over here, we got an x over here, that by definition proves that these two functions are indeed inverses of each other. So if you are given a function and you are asked to find its inverse, this is a 4-step process there. So you're given the equation, give me the equation of the inverse function. Step 1, we're going to take this out of function notation, and we're going to replace that f of x with y. Again, remember that f of x is equal to y. They are interchangeable, just one's function notation. So instead of f of x, we're going to write y. So we have y is equal to x cubed plus 1. Step 2, interchange x and y. This y becomes an x. This x becomes a y. The big step here, solve for y. So get y completely by itself, and we're going to do that by subtracting 1 on each side. That's going to leave us with x minus 1 on the left and dropping down that y cubed on the right-hand side. Solving for y here, we need to get rid of that cube. So the opposite of a cube is a cube root. So we want to take the cube root of each side. On the right-hand side, cube root and cube is going to cancel, leaving us with y. And that is just going to equal the cube root of x minus 1. That left-hand side, we are just dropping down. So here we're left with y is equal to the cube root of x minus 1. Last step, we're pretty much done. This is your inverse function here. But last step, we remove that function notation here in the beginning. Let's go ahead and replace that. Since this is now our inverse function, we are going to replace y with f inverse. So this will be f inverse is equal to the cube root of x minus 1. Moving right along to our next example, here we have f of x is equal to x plus 2 over x minus 3. Step 1, replace that f of x with y. So this is going to be y is equal to x plus 2 over x minus 3. Step 2, interchange x and y. This y here will now be an x, and then this will be y plus 2 over y minus 3. Solve this equation for y. First thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of this division. On the right-hand side, we have this y plus 2 over y minus 3. This is a division, so I'm going to do the opposite of division, and I'm going to multiply each side by y minus 3, by my denominator. On the right-hand side, this y minus 3 will cancel with that y minus 3, leaving us with the y plus 2. On the left side, we had x. Now we're multiplying by y minus 3. Actually do that multiplication. X times y is x times y. X times the minus 3 just gives us minus 3x. Now we're still having to solve for y here. So what we need to do at this step here, because we have two terms that have a y in it, two terms that do not, what you want to do is you want to take all the terms that have a y in it, put it on one side of the equation, everything else on the other side. So I'm going to subtract this y to the left-hand side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this minus 3x and I'm going to add it so that I can move that to the right-hand side. So that on the left-hand side, I have xy minus y is equal to this 2 that we already have there plus that 3x that I moved. Right? I moved this y left and I moved that 3x to the right-hand side. Now I'm just moving the equation right up here to give me more room to work here. Now the reason we moved everything with a y to the left-hand side is because we need to solve for y, a single y. Here we currently have two of them. The way that we're going to make this work here is we're going to use the concept of a greatest common factor and just factor that out. If we take a look at the left-hand side, our GCF of the left-hand side is a y, right? Each one of these terms has a y in it. We can factor that right out. And when we factor out that y to the front, we would be left with, well, y over y cancels, leaving us with x minus a y over y is a 1. And that's just going to equal to that right-hand side. This allows us to separate the y from everything else so that now all we need to do is divide each side by that x minus 1. And that's going to leave us with y is equal to that 2 plus 3x over x minus 1. Last step, replace y with the inverse function notation. I'm not sure where I wrote that. F inverse is equal to 2 plus 3x over x minus 1. Now the horizontal line test for inverse function. So there is a vertical line test that determines if it is a function, yes or no. The horizontal line test is to determine if a given function has an inverse. Okay, so horizontal, does it have an inverse? Vertical, is it a function, right? So do make sure that you do know the difference between the two. So here we are talking about the horizontal line test for inverse functions that says if we draw a horizontal line anywhere on our graph and it only intersects the graph at one point and one point only, then an inverse does exist. If it intersects at more than one point, then an inverse does not exist. So for the following examples here, we're just going to answer the question, yes or no, does it have a function? So let's do the horizontal line test. So looking at example D right over here. Drawing a horizontal line. If I draw a horizontal line, it hits one time. Draw a horizontal line, it hits one time. Draw a horizontal line, it hits one time. So there's no more than one intersection there. So this would be a yes. If I take a look at example E, this is what the parent function for a cubic function looks like here. Again, draw a horizontal line anywhere on the graph. And it's just hitting one time, one time, one time. This one is also a yes. If we take a look at example F here, draw a horizontal line. Automatically we see, boom, 1, 2 times. That automatically makes it a no. You only want one intersection. Anything more than that already throws it off. I take a look at G and draw a horizontal line anywhere here. It's going to hit multiple times. So this one is definitely a no. Again, it's just answering the question, does this have an inverse, yes or no? So then how do we find the inverse of a graph? All right, if we're given a graph and you want to graph its inverse without an equation or anything else like that, this is how we're going to do that. So if we have a known point, AB, that is on F, so each one of these graphs that I currently have here represents f of x. We want to graph the inverse for all three of these, okay? So we want to go from this to its inverse. So the way that you do that, if you have a known point on F, right? So if AB is on F, BA would be on its inverse. So what we need to do, first off, find points on f of x. So taking a look here at example H, I have 3 points already pointed out here. So actually find the coordinates for it. So this point right over here looks like a -3, -2. Then I have a -1, 0 here. And then it looks like I have a +4, +2. So those are the points AB on F. So what we need to do is just reverse those. Find BA. So flip these around. Instead of -3, -2, we want -2, -3. We want a 0, -1, and we want a 2, 4. Plot these points. That's going to represent your inverse function. So -2, -3, 0, -1, and then a 2 and a 4. Connect those dots, and this is the inverse of this graph. So let's do that again. Find points on F. So here I have a 0, 1. I have a 1, 2. And then I have a 2, 4. Invert those. So I want over here, so let's see, I'm going to want a 1, 0, a 2, 1, and then a 4, 2 for my inverse graph. So 1, 0, 2, 1, 4, 2 is what that's going to look like. Connect the dots following the movement of your graph, and that is what that inverse would look like. So doing this one more time, again, find your points here. So this looks like a 0, -4. This looks like a 2, 0. I now have a 3 and a 2. And then this point here looks like a 4, 4. If we invert those, that looks like -4, 0, 0, 2, a 2, 3, and 4, 4 stays the same. All right, so just flip-flop them. -4, 0, 0, 2, 2, 3, and then 4, 4. So I didn't draw my graph so much here to scale here, but about that is what it would look like if my graph actually connected here. My scale is just a little bit off on this one here, but that is what that inverse function would look like.